With the SMART goals, the whole idea of SMART goals is that these are the kinds of goals that provide a lot of clarity about expectations. And so it's really important to think about the specifics. What are you actually going to do? What is this goal referring to? What's the behavior that you're going to be working on to do differently? So that's the specific part of the SMART goal. The M is, why is this goal motivating? What's motivating about it to you? So, what would make you excited about this goal? And how do you know it's attainable? How do you know that you're going to be able to achieve this goal? Because goals that are unattainable can be very discouraging when you work really hard and you still can't reach it. So you want to make sure that the goal might stretch you, but that it's still attainable. And what's relevant about it? How does it fit into the kingdom work? How does it fit into what we're doing as a ministry? What makes it meaningful and relevant? And the trackable. So this is the part that makes it really measurable. There's usually a time component to it, or there may be a budgetary amount to it, or different types of criteria. So the trackable is really the tangible, measurable part of the goal. And it often helps when you're writing goals to start with the S and the T. What's the specific behavior and how are you going to measure it? And then to think about, so why is this motivating? How do I know it's attainable? What makes it relevant? Okay, so the S and the T are the real tangible aspects of it. So here's what I'd like to have us take a look at. Let's determine whether or not this is a SMART goal. So if I have a goal to save a percentage of each paycheck, is that a SMART goal?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's measurable about it?
Percentage of savings.
What's the percentage?
Not defined.
Oh, 8%.
Yeah, it's not defined.
It's not defined.
Am I going to save 1%? Am I going to save 20%? So this is not really a measurable goal, okay? And it's not clearly trackable based on how general it is. So this really isn't a SMART goal. Let's look at another version. How about if I say to save 10% of each paycheck through December 31st in order to take a family vacation? Is that a SMART goal? Yeah, it's pretty smart. It's pretty smart. We can make it even smarter. And the more clarity you give a goal, the more likely it is that you're going to have agreement on whether or not the goal was met. Okay, so here's a really smart goal. To save $3,000, okay, you've got a specific amount there by December 31st, you've got that deadline. Here's the motivation part. In order to take the family on a ski vacation, as measured by $200 payroll deductions being added to my savings account each pay period. That's a really specific goal, okay? And it's measurable, attainable, relevant, and trackable. So you want to be sure that the goals that you develop for yourself and with your team get to this level of specificity. Because if you're this clear in the beginning, then everybody knows what's expected of them. And you can get to that point at the end of this performance review period to determine whether or not that goal was achieved. And it's not subjective, it's very objective, whether or not it was achieved, or almost achieved, or exceeded. So that's the whole idea of writing SMART goals. Competence, what we need to pay attention to is what is the demonstrated level of knowledge and skills related to the task at hand. Okay, do they have the ability? Have they done it before? Is there demonstrated knowledge and skill based on previous experience? That's what the competence is. And there are questions that you can ask to determine the level of competence. And by the way, these questions are in this little playbook. They're in the back of the little playbook on page 16. So if somebody thinks that they're at a high level of competence and you're not sure, Then you have a conversation. Can you give me examples of consistent past success? Can you demonstrate it? Can you break down this task into small steps? Would you be able to teach it to somebody else? So those are questions that can help you determine the level of competence and have a conversation about what the level of competence is, whether it's high or low. And then in terms of commitment, like we talked about earlier this morning, commitment isn't about, is this person committed to their job? Are they committed to Johnny and friends? It's not that broad sense of commitment because we know everybody's committed, but it's commitment on a specific task or goal. And commitment is based on the degree of motivation, are they enthusiastic about it or not, and their confidence. Can they perform it well without supervision? So do they have the willingness based on motivation and confidence? And the questions to ask that are also on that same page in the playbook, do you feel an inner drive to do this? Are you passionate about it? Do you eagerly get started right away? It's like, is this something that you love doing? Do you find out that you lose track of time because you just are so into this that nothing else matters? Those are high levels of commitment when you're working on a specific task. If it's something like, yeah, I've got to get this report out, I know they need it, but I hate, having to do this detailed work on this report. You have the ability, but you don't like doing it. That's not a high level of commitment. So that's why it's helpful to have these conversations about competence and commitment to determine the appropriate development level. And remember, development level is always related to a specific goal or task. It's not about the individual as a whole. It's not a character judgment. It's just based on the task.